What's going on, traders? I'm Antoine Farrar back with another trading video with Digital Goatz Academy. Today is Sunday, so today is our weekly review where we pretty much highlight what happened in the market the previous week. So let me go ahead and pull up the charts. Hope everyone is having a good Sunday. Over where I'm at, the weather's good, so I definitely took advantage of that today. Went hiking to this mountain that's not too far from our location. Uh, hmm. All right. So if you are tuning into this video, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. That definitely helps us with the algorithm and helps our channel grow. So like I said, let's get straight into it. If you've been following us, again, I think I say this a lot. I primarily focus on indices, but really I would like to say that, we at Digital Goats Academy focus on the currency pairs that bring in the most amount of profits, you know what I'm saying? Obviously that means that it comes with bigger risk as well, but we like to stay with things that are more money driven than dealing with current regular currency pairs. Not that, I'm against it because like that's where I started, but I think all my traders can understand that you get to a certain level in foreign exchange or in Forex and you evolve and you move on to things that pretty much give you profit quicker and more, you know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and get into it. So this is how the market closed last week, right? So we were tracking the market, right? We were following basically how the market was producing this trend. So there was a lot of inconsistency. Well, I wouldn't say inconsistency, volatility. There was a lot of volatility last week. So let's look at where we opened up on Sunday last week, right? Let me scale down. So this is where we opened up at Sunday. So that was April 5th. Yeah, that was April 5th. So you can see that, man, excuse me. You can see that price pretty much created this gap. So a gap down last Sunday, price pushed up and then got brought down to create support around Tuesday. Where did it push up from? So yeah, and we see that very common. I see that happen a lot, especially with US 30. Like price will move up and then Tuesday, sometimes the moves be way more aggressive, but kind of pay attention to that. Again, like pay attention to like the patterns that the market is presenting. So last week we created support and then what was this? Wednesday? No, still Tuesday. Still Tuesday, we got extremely bullish. And what was the reasoning behind that? I forgot what news was out. I know we had CPR last week. What else did we have? I can't remember. I can't remember the ceasefire. I remember we had the ceasefire agreement, which is still going on. Yeah, I don't remember. So everything was basically price action at that point. So you can see that around the close of the close of the market on Tuesday, you can see that it got dumb bullish from there, started consolidating going into Sydney and Tokyo, and then, we had this still consolidation point. Well, I guess you could say a slight breakout, and then, price is basically testing this consolidation, which I'm looking at price to gap up, but like I said, I'm not going to go into it until we get more detail. We need more data between today, Monday, and then see how Tuesday kind of reacts. But we're still overall bullish, you know what I'm saying? You can see that there was really no now here's the one thing about indices that I do want to say is that when you're identifying these opportunities to buy back in, don't expect for that reaction to happen like immediately. So a lot of times, like I mess myself up by trying to over anticipate the pullback, expecting it because like if you trade with the regular pair like USD CAD, more than likely it's going to pull back after breaking out. Indices doesn't really move like that. And you can back test, you can scale out and go from where price basically sold off last year. And you can see how, let me clear this up. You can see how price didn't create your, your whenever it broke out of certain areas, it didn't like pull back to areas that you would have expected it to pull back to based off of market structure. It kept going up. It kept doing shallow pullbacks and keeping the market in an uptrend. I believe we're seeing the same thing that's happening right now that we saw within, and it makes sense because what are we around? We're around Q2. I don't know why I just had a brain fart just there. We're around quarter two, right? We're already seeing it, the momentum from the market, you know what I'm saying? Now everything here at this point is just pretty much price action, you know what I'm saying? Technical analysis, you just follow the trend, watch for it to break out, understand like where price is going to be pushing down to or where it broke out at. You really, the big thing that's going to help traders this year is like paying attention to where price came from. You know what I'm saying? So that means scaling down on the smaller time frame, seeing these breakouts, and not anticipating, but just notating that, okay, it never came back here to test this high that it broke out of, or it never came back here to test this level of consolidation, whatever the case may be. And those could be possible entry points. But as far as we're seeing right now, because again, I always say like turn your chart to Hakanashi, specifically on the daily and on down, all right? Daily definitely shows you what you need to see. Now, the thing about Hakanashi candles, look at me going into teaching, and I'm not supposed to be doing that today. But the thing about Hakanashi candles, flat bottom shows momentum to the upside. When you're looking at buy candles, flat top shows momentum to the downside. Now, when you have like, you see how there's like wicks right here? This is momentum. Even though price ended up flipping around here, this was still momentum, at least for these two, three candles. This was still momentum to the downside. So if we're looking at price to, be in an uptrend, like look at how it's responding right now. You have your flat bottom, you want, a moderate candle or a strong candle right here. This probably would have closed a little bit higher if the market wasn't closing on Friday. So this was Friday's candle. So what I'm expecting is that with the new daily candle, since the momentum is still to the upside, obviously this is the close, which, you might could have like some form of a slight pullback. I'm thinking that we're going to gap up and then try to fill that real quick and then continue to push to the upside. Just based off of the momentum. You know what I'm saying? I'm relying on the momentum. Of course, I want to see more information when the market opens at pretty much in 45 minutes, 40 minutes. No, again, there was a lot of areas at the mark. Well, that's my 945, so that doesn't hold any weight. The only thing I'm concerned about is this gap. So I did have an expectation. I wasn't gonna chase it, but I was in preparation that if price were to come, because look how we, moved from Sunday. So this was Sunday, gap down. We created support. So visually, as far as the technicals that we need to see, visually we've created support. The only thing is, or the only thing that it's like we got to pay attention to, will price try to target this gap, um, sooner than later. The one thing that I would like to see is like price to go up slightly and then want to come back for that gap. But I don't want to see price to like go all the way up here and then we find ourselves coming back to this gap like later on. You know what I'm saying? Like 2 months from now. I doubt that that's going to happen, but again, I don't write the rules to the market, especially with the uncertainty of the war and stuff. But what we've seen from last week is that yes, the market is in a state of an uptrend. You know what I'm saying? Buyers are in the market. So until the market says I hit resistance, or until we get to an area where the market says that this was just a pullback for the sell opportunity to break out, which I did mention. I did mention that on two of my calls last week, which I'm not going to go into further detail. You got the information if you've been paying attention to on YouTube. Um, I mean, I guess I kind of got to talk about it if I go to S&P, but we'll see. So yeah, this is where price currently closed. I like that it stayed above our buy zone, which I still, if price does push down here, I'm still looking at this to be um, a buy opportunity. The only thing is that is this going to be like the break and then retest all the way back down here, or is this the retest, which I'm hoping prices, because it's in a state of the market trending, like it's trending now, I'm looking at this to be basically the buy zone, not all the way back down here. But again, leave yourself room for error where price could shoot back down here probably Monday or Tuesday, and then this could be the possible buy opportunity again. But we'll see. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, I just follow what the data shows us. I only speculate based off of like, how the trend is showing on the higher time frame. So since we're seeing it on the higher time frame, the momentum definitely looks strong to the upside. So we'll just keep ourselves like looking for buys unless something, triggers like a major sell. And then even then, make no mistake, like the market is gonna do that. After we get to a certain point, the market's gonna start throwing more aggressive sells, at us where, it's trying to basically clean out late buyers or buyers that are still holding positions, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'm still bullish. We just have to see how price plays out here. This looks like a test of this candle, but like I said, we'll wait till what the market presents us after it opens up at 6 o'clock. So Nasdaq has been the one that's been showing better progress as far as like the buy to the upside compared to S&P and US 30. Well, I would say Nasdaq and S&P. US 30 has kind of been showing like I would say, confusing signals. I wouldn't say confusing, but mixed signals and stuff, especially for the way I trade, you know what I'm saying? But if I'm sticking to the overall trend, of course, like it's still buying up, but I have been surprised how aggressive these sells have been. I knew that we were going to have some type of sell, but even when it's buying up, it's doing like big pullbacks, you know what I'm saying? So, uh, that's why I said that between the big three, Nasdaq has actually been the cleanest. Even on the selling side, Nasdaq has been the cleanest. But let's go ahead and walk through what happened last Sunday. So again, we notate or we annotate where the gap is at every Sunday or where a gap is at, in general. So remember, like if it's a small gap, like I only do it with the circle. If it's a big gap, I'm normally annotating it, marking it up with a square or a rectangle, right? So price created support here actually dipped down a little bit lower now, but this we're in a zone that we marked up from like either last year or this year. Oh, okay. This is the support structure that price broke. So this is the area that we were kind of expecting to see if price was going to buy. And then that's when price said, yo, I'm cleaning you out and I'm going back to this lower level, which we did expect price to come down low. I didn't have a target for NASDAQ, so I didn't know where it would decide to buy up from because I wasn't like tracking it as methodically as I was doing S&P and US 30. But you can see that price created support down here, and we bought up where were we at with the gap on Sunday? We bought up from the support structure, so we violated what would have been like a sell opportunity if price was trying to sell off. It wasn't trying to sell off, and we weren't thinking that price was trying to sell off there neither. I know that when we got here, price had pulled back down to test that high, but at that point, I felt like this was consolidation. Nasdaq, like I said, Nasdaq does a little bit different. So when US 30 was buying up and even S&P was already showing signs of buy up, Nasdaq was selling. When US 30 was like selling off Friday, Nasdaq was trying to buy back up. You know what I'm saying? And of course, like it eventually like evened itself out. You know what I'm saying? But um, Nasdaq, it seems like it just does a little bit different than S&P and US 30. So that's something that I've always pointed out that, make sure you pay attention to that, that if you use, like I use all three in correlation with each other, but I'm primarily trading US 30. I could probably jump in Nasdaq, but I don't want to, you know how it is as a trader. Like you got your pair, like that's what you deal with. You know what I'm saying? You don't really divert for that, even if you have opportunity. I may jump in like S&P, but because like Nasdaq can just do something completely different than US 30, I don't even try to mess with it while I'm trading US 30. But as you can see, we created a gap here as well. I didn't notate that because I didn't want to have a bunch of, I already have like a lot of purple going on over here, so I just knew that it was there, but this was specifically our buy zone. So remember, this is our buy zone that we were looking at. That price ended up dipping from. So remember, we were buying like around this area when price like had bought up here. We said, "Oh, this is our buy zone." It was still our buy zone until it wasn't, and then it became our sell zone. But I did say that once price returns, this is definitely going to be our buy zone. So we were looking like you didn't have an opportunity to catch like the pullback besides this miniature one right here. You had to have been in the trade already. So that's why I stress like you can't with indices, you kind of got to be a little bit more aggressive because the time that you need, it won't give you like that pullback. This thing can rise all the way up and then the pullback comes like 2 weeks from now, a month from now. You know what I'm saying? And you're like, damn, dude, I could have just rode the wave, take profit at a certain level of resistance, and then, wait for the second opportunity. But we'll see what price presents us. You know what I'm saying? We may not be fully breaking out of this area just yet, but I would like to think just based on the momentum, for sure we're breaking we're back at we're back at some zones that we had marked up. So yeah, price shouldn't wanna. Well, we sold off from here. How many times we sold off on? Yeah, after that break, price should want to continue pushing up. S&P, same thing. I remember talking about the buy zone with S&P. Now, just to kind of touch on it slightly, remember we were saying that if price was going to sell, it had to pretty much either sell from here or start showing bearish activity when price like tested into the pattern. Clearly, we've already violated what would be considered a sell anyway. So I don't think that the market is going to sell off from this position. I think that we're going to continue buying up. But just look what we had. Just look what transpired Sunday, right? Same thing. Like, look how identical the indices are looking. This is why I look at them in tandem with each other. Like, identical. Like, it's crazy. Almost did the same damn thing. You know what I'm saying? As far as the visuals are concerned, right? So we have a gap on Sunday, right? Price gap down. It was a small gap, but it just depends on what your lot size was. We bought up, and I think same thing Tuesday. Yep, Tuesday we pushed down here to create support, and we should have known that. That's actually I wasn't like sure if that was gonna happen, but I kept on like looking at that area. Like price may want to test this area. Remember, we had a similar situation like last week or the week before where price broke out, it gapped down, and then it ended up testing the high of the gap. Well, this time it decided to create support just because how the gap was, which makes sense to me. You know what I'm saying? I even marked this up like the high of the gap, and look, after it broke out. You know what I'm saying? After it created support, gave you opportunity, the high of the gap. So even if you missed this is where we would have liked to enter, you know what I mean, for the perfect entry. But let's be honest, traders, we're normally catching the entry either up here or somewhere here. But this would have been definitely a sniper entry, both opportunities. But more than likely somebody entered here and price dropped, and then but this was still pretty much a good entry, you know what I'm saying? So we already had this marked up as a buy zone. I was already saying that price is gonna buy up from here. I think I have this on YouTube where I said like, yo, price is gonna buy up from here. And we had another opportunity for a buy zone. But again, you would have had to have been in these trades. So it's like 10 minute. Let me see. Somebody would have been able to catch that. Yep. At around Oh, you would have had to buy right after the market opened. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it gapped up, pulled back to fill that gap, which again, I don't think that's 100% that we filled the gap. So I do expect the market to try to target this. Unless, we run away from it. I'm hoping that we run. Why do I have this there? I'm hoping that we run away from it. But like I'm still keeping my eyes on it. But yeah, you would have had to enter and normally traders aren't entering around that time. So this was a missed opportunity if you didn't already have like a pending order or if you didn't buy from here. Really, this was the move. This was still questionable, but we broke out of that area, consolidated, broke again, which again gave us another buy zone. We have literally three buy zones here. And I don't expect price to come back to these levels until we get a push higher. You know what I'm saying? Because the momentum is just strong to the upside. We have like True market structure, double bottom right here, really a W pattern. And if you back out, you can kind of say that, man, this is a head and shoulder. It is that. This is a head and shoulder. That was one of the things that I spotted out, but I didn't want to draw it because for whatever reason, yo, when I draw it, it doesn't do that. But if I just say it and I see it, like, and I try to say, all right, left shoulder, and I kind of wait, it's like, oh, it is doing that. You know what I'm saying? So as long as I don't draw out the inverted head and shoulder, it'll play out. But if I draw it out, then because I'm trying to convince myself I'm seeing what I think I'm seeing, you know what I'm saying? And even with this move, you see it's not clear cut. So let me just draw it right here. Knock on wood. We're definitely going to delete it. But understand the visuals. It's like it's not going to be like precise. You know what I mean? Cool. And look at that, head and shoulder. And with the true head and shoulder, because we didn't have like a pullback, as long as we don't see price coming back down here, the head and shoulder is going to stay active, especially like it being on the hour time frame. So we should see price continue. Now, anywhere in this area, I'm not sure if price is gonna like this could be the pullback zone when we get a break to the upside. But I don't expect to see price back down here based off of the head and inverted head and shoulder pattern. Now, that may not stay true. So you would still have to analyze the charts, you know what I'm saying, like day by day, but based off the pattern, this should be liftoff, you know what I'm saying? And then we get some type of major pullback after this pattern has been exhausted. But I don't think we've exhausted this pattern yet. I think that we're just now beginning, and like I said, based off the daily time frame, everything that we were talking about is happening since the beginning of April. You know what I'm saying? We talked about what? Morning star patterns, right? Price is pushing up, so we should expect price to continue pushing up off the morning star pattern, off of US 30, NASDAQ, and S&P, and then we should see whenever it wants to do like some type of correction, we should see it like I said, come back to maybe these areas, but that would be after we break out, you know what I'm saying? I would expect us to break the high and then try to come back and test this again. It just makes more sense to do that. And that's kind of like the direction or the approach that indices take. So we're just gonna wait to see what happens in the next 30, what is this, 35, 37 minutes? And yeah, and make some money like we made last week. Let me look at indices I mean crypto real quick. So I am still, but well, I can't really go into like what happened Sunday because I wasn't really paying attention to like how crypto was reacting. But I will say that yes, I still am bullish. So we had this sell off this weekend, but this to me, this was after the breakout. So I think this was just a correction that price needed. Yeah, we ain't. Again, anytime we see these major, I mean, when you look at it on smaller time frames, the sell looks vicious. And that was a big move, but price ain't really do shit. It's building or it's what does Wall Street say? It's accumulating, you know what I'm saying? You got your accumulation process down here. And then we'll definitely get when there's more buyers in, we'll definitely get that burst of momentum to the upside. And I'm telling you, if you're not in it around now, like you're gonna miss that opportunity, yo. It's not gonna do like where price breaks out and then pulls back. I mean, we may have some type of reactionary push where like price does this and then want to do this real quick, but it happens so fast, you know what I mean? Like something to that effect. But to me, this is the area you want to be at on the investing side. But that's all I got, traders. I'm getting myself prepared for the market. So I'm gonna look at what indices are doing and obviously give an update as we go into Tuesday. Still bearish on oil too. Oil's playing out exactly like we discussed. So expect volatility off of oil. So expect it to be bouncing around and definitely throwing confusing analysis. You know what I'm saying? So I think that overall we're bullish, but I think the move is gonna push us down. You know what I'm saying? After we're done like ranging. So. I'm expecting price to bounce between these areas and range, and then we'll kind of see where we go from there. But I'll see everybody on the next video with Digital Goats Academy. Be careful out there. Have a successful trading week. I'm Antoine Farrar, as always, signing off. Peace, traders.